The digital clock on my microwave glows an accusatory 2:37 a.m. when voices in the kitchen startle me awake. Not the familiar sounds of my own home settling, these are hushed human whispers. I slide out of bed, my bare feet silent against hardwood floors. The hallway stretches before me, a path I know by heart even in darkness. Something's wrong. I never have visitors at this hour. The refrigerator light spills across my kitchen floor, illuminating a scene that stops my breath. Bradley hunches over my desk drawer, the one where I keep my financial documents. Monica stands beside him, her phone aimed at what I recognize as my bank statements. The betrayal is captured perfectly in that refrigerator glow, their faces ghoulish in its light. The account number is here, Bradley whispers, finger trailing across my personal information. Monica's camera clicks softly as she captures another image. A small gasp escapes me before I can trap it behind my teeth. Both their heads snap up, eyes wide with shock. We freeze in this terrible tableau in my doorway, them with their hands literally in my personal files. 3 days earlier, Bradley's voice had carried a practiced desperation over the phone. "Maddie, we've been evicted. We have nowhere to go." I'd gripped the phone tighter, stomach already knotting. "Again? What happened to the apartment you just moved into?" "The landlord turned out to be unreasonable," he said, the familiar excuse sliding too easily from his lips. "We're good for the money, just not on his timeline." I'd hesitated. Memories of bounced checks and midnight departures from previous residences flashing through my mind. "Bradley, I don't know. Mom and Dad already offered to help with the security deposit for a new place," he'd interrupted. "But we need somewhere to stay until it all goes through. Just a couple weeks." Later that evening, Mom's call delivered the final push. "Family takes care of family, Maddie," she'd said, her voice carrying years of unspoken expectations. "Your brother has 3 children to think about." I'd paced my living roomy sanctuary trying to imagine it filled with Bradley's chaos. "He's been irresponsible with money since college," I'd argued. "Every time someone bails him out, nothing changes." "Their family," Mom had repeated, as if those 2 words answered everything. I'd wavered then, imagining my niece and nephews with nowhere to go. "Fine," I'd finally agreed, feeling my boundaries crumble. But with conditions. That night, I'd created a 2-page house rules document, laying out expectations about cleanliness, privacy, and respect for my space. When I'd presented it the next day, I caught the dismissive glance between Bradley and Monica, look that said they'd never intended to follow any rules I set. Their arrival had been more invasion than welcome. 3 children and 6 suitcases had transformed my orderly home into chaos within minutes. 11-year-old Lucas had rolled his eyes when I showed him the shared bedroom where the children would sleep. "We had our own rooms at our old place," he'd muttered. Monica had brushed past me, designer purse dangling from her wrist despite their supposed financial crisis. "It's just temporary until we find something worthy of us," she'd whispered to Bradley, loudly enough that I'd clearly been meant to hear. I'd given them a tour, each room of my carefully organized home now under threat. My heart had physically ached when we reached my home office, my sanctuary, where I created and dreamed. "The children will sleep here," I'd explained, showing them the air mattresses I'd arranged. "Please make sure they respect my work equipment." That night, after everyone had settled, I'd carefully locked away my grandmother's china in a cabinet. The delicate edges of those plates had always reminded me of her strength, beautiful, but not to be underestimated. I needed her spirit then. By day 2, the pattern had emerged. Monica had approached while I worked, her voice honeyed with manipulation. "Maddie, I know you said no food in the bedrooms, but Zoe's having a hard time adjusting. Just this once?" That just once had multiplied hourly. By afternoon, I discovered 4-year-old Miles with my expensive art supplies, color bleeding across my carpet. "Children need to express themselves," Monica had argued when I confronted her. "You can't expect them to remember all these rules." Her tears had started then, right on cue. "You're treating us like criminals, not family," she'd accused, voice rising dramatically. Now, in the pre-dawn darkness of my kitchen, that accusation echoes with bitter irony as they stand caught in their criminal act. "Just looking for insurance papers?" Bradley stammers, hastily closing the drawer. Monica's face transforms before my eyes, shock melting into something calculated and malicious. The phone with my financial information disappears into her pocket. "We need to talk," I say, my voice quieter than intended but steady. "Now." Morning sunlight filters through my blinds, but I've been awake for hours. Sleep abandoned me after confronting Bradley and Monica in my kitchen. Their excuse about insurance papers at 2:37 a.m. might have worked if I hadn't seen Monica photographing my bank statements. My laptop screen glows with damning evidence. Browser history from yesterday when I'd stepped out. How to claim squatters' rights in Colorado. Tenant rights without lease. How long to establish residency claim. The partially drafted email in Bradley's account, still open from their midnight snooping, confirms my worst fears. "Mom and Dad, thanks for checking in. Maddie is being accommodating, just like she promised when she told us we could stay for at least 6 months while we get back on our feet. The kids are settling into their new school nicely." 6 months. My stomach twists into a familiar knot, the same sensation from childhood watching Bradley break things, then lie about it. Some patterns never change. Monica's voice drifts through the heating vent from the kitchen below. "No, Jen, you should see this place," she says, voice low. "She's loaded and never uses that second bedroom anyway. It was practically collecting dust before we moved in." I press my ear closer. Who cares if the kids have snacks in bed? Yesterday, she nearly had a meltdown over some stupid art supplies that probably cost $20. Meanwhile, she's got that fancy MacBook Pro sitting right there. My knees weaken. This isn't a desperate family needing shelter, it's a calculated takeover. My rarely used backup wallet is missing my emergency credit card. A quick login reveals a trail of small charges. $24.99 at a streaming service, $32.76 at a liquor store, $19.5 at a restaurant. Each small enough to fly under the radar. On Monica's Instagram, there's a photo of my living room showcasing my hand-woven New Mexico throw. Caption: "Our new place while we're between mansions blessed. New beginnings. Upgrading life." The comments twist the knife. "Gorgeous place. When did you buy it? That artwork is amazing. You've always had the best taste." She hasn't corrected anyone who assumed the home is hers. Worse, the artwork they're admiring is my watercolor painted during the painful months after my engagement ended. My private expression, misrepresented in Monica's counterfeit life. This isn't about family, Maddie. This is about parasites. Helen sits across from me at our corner cafe, her librarian's eyes scanning the evidence before her. "Look at these charges," she continues, tapping my statement. "These aren't desperate emergency purchases. This is fraud." "My mother called this morning," I say. "Bradley told her I'm being difficult about the children having snacks in their room." Helen's eyebrows arch. Classic manipulation, make you the villain for enforcing basic respect in your own home. Mr. Jacobson mentioned seeing Bradley's car parked on our street several times in the weeks before they officially moved in. Said he was doing reconnaissance. They were planning this, Maddie. This wasn't a desperate call for help. This was a targeted operation. My phone buzzes. "Noticed you seem distracted in meetings. Everything okay? Have extra office space if you need quiet work environment. First offer of sanctuary from the outside world." "Document everything," Helen says, tapping her legal pad. "Every rule broken, every unauthorized charge, every misrepresentation." An alert pings a loan application notification. 5 minutes of searching reveals Bradley has listed my address on 3 separate loan applications this week. My pristine credit history now hangs in the balance of his recklessness. That evening, hidden in my car in the office parking lot, I overhear Bradley and Monica through my home security app. They stand in my kitchen, unaware of the camera I installed when fixing router issues and changing the Wi-Fi password. "She can't kick out family with kids," Bradley says confidently. "The neighbors would think she's heartless." Monica nods, leaning against my counter with casual ownership. "My cousin says if we stay 2 months, she'd need formal eviction proceedings. That's at least another 60 days where she can't touch us." The calculated nature of their words confirms everything. Never desperate, just strategic. Tears finally come, hot and unwelcome, as I sit alone. Not tears of weakness, but of rage and revelation. The sanctuary I've built through years of hard work is under siege from within. By nightfall, I've changed all passwords, secured my remaining documents at work, and created detailed documentation labeled incidents with dates, times, and descriptions of every boundary crossed. I'm printing the final page when I sense a presence. Looking up, I find Lukashi's 11-year-old frame silhouetted in my office doorway. Miss Maddie? His voice wavers, eyes darting behind him to ensure no one follows. My mom and dad had a plan before we came here. I heard them talking. The moral weight on his young shoulders is visible even in dim light. They did the same thing to Aunt Christine last year, he whispers. And suddenly, I understand I'm not their first victim. I'm just the latest in a pattern. The digital clock on my microwave reads 5:37 a.m. when my phone vibrates with another notification. 3 missed calls from my mother. 5 text messages from relatives I rarely hear from. Something has shifted overnight. My phone lights up with Aunt Cheryl's name Dad's sister, who calls maybe twice a year. I silence it, then open Facebook instead. Monica's latest post appears at the top, accompanied by a photo of me clearly taken without my knowledge. When family becomes prison, living under my dictator sister, in-law's roof, toxic family, boundaries. Beneath it, comments multiply like bacteria. My mother's call interrupts my scrolling. Madeline, Eleanor, what is going on over there? Her voice carries that familiar mixture of accusation and concern. Bradley says you've been treating them like prisoners. Before I can respond, I hear 8-year-old Zoe's voice carrying from the hallway, unnaturally loud. Mommy, are we really staying here forever like you told Grandma? You said we'd never have to leave because Aunt Maddie's too nice to make us go. I step into the hallway just in time to see Monica's sharp correction and meaningful glare in my direction. Zoe, you know that's not what I meant. The mail arrives with a thud. Among the envelopes, a credit card offer catches my eye addressed to Bradley, but with my address. Opening it reveals a platinum card application with a $25,000 limit. Then another. And another. All using my address for luxury cards. The pieces click together with sickening clarity. This isn't temporary. It never was. You're not the bad person here, Miss Harper. You're being taken advantage of. Lydia Chen, tenant rights attorney, sits across from me in her downtown office. Her confidence steadies my resolve. But they're family, I say, the word sounding hollow even to my ears. Which is precisely why they believe they can get away with it. She slides my documentation across her desk. This is excellent work. You've created a paper trail that any judge would appreciate. I've spent the past week methodically documenting every violation of my house rules, organizing time-stamped photographs and notes. My phone vibrates with a text from an unknown number. Meet me at the bus stop, without Mom and Dad. Lucas. 30 minutes later, my 11-year-old nephew slips a wrinkled paper into my hand. They do this a lot, he whispers. These are the other places. The paper contains 3 addresses with dates neatly printed beside them. Names I recognize: Christine, Uncle Rick, Mrs. Marjorie, family and friends who'd supposedly helped out my brother's family. Something shifts inside me, the certainty that I'm not just standing up for myself, but for everyone who came before me. Friday night's family dinner materializes exactly as I'd anticipated, an ambush disguised as reconciliation. My parents' house smells of pot roast and tension when I arrive, Helen at my side despite Mom's pointed comment that this should just be family. We're just trying to understand why you can't help your brother during hard times. Dad begins, the rehearsed quality of his words painfully obvious. On cue, Monica's eyes well with tears. All we wanted was a safe place for our children. I wait for her performance to end, then calmly open my laptop and connect it to the television. I'd like to share something with everyone, I say, my voice steadier than my heartbeat. The room falls silent as I present my evidence methodically. The previous victims of their temporary housing scheme, the credit card applications in my name, the printed social media posts violating my privacy, And finally, the video of their midnight snooping through my financial documents. As the last video plays, the shocked silence around the dinner table is broken only by Grandma Whitmore's soft, "Oh my word." Helen stands, her presence solid beside me. I've watched Madeline bend over backward to accommodate them while being exploited. My phone buzzes with texts from neighbors offering security footage of Bradley coming and going during work hours. My coworkers have arranged deadline extensions. Even my boss texted, "Take the time you need. Your work matters to us." I turn to Bradley and Monica, whose faces have lost all confidence. "You have 2 weeks to find new housing. This isn't about family anymore. This is about respect and boundaries. If you kick us out, everyone will know you're heartlessly evicting children." Bradley threatens, his voice lacking conviction. I meet his gaze steadily. I've already told everyone the truth, with evidence. In their expressions, I see the exact moment they realize their game is over. In my bathroom, I press my palms against the cool marble countertop, trying to stop their trembling. The confrontation left me hollow yet somehow stronger. Tears stream down my face, not from sadness, but from relief. The truth is finally out. My phone rings. "Dad." "I owe you an apology, Maddie," he says, his voice rough with emotion. "We shouldn't have pressured you." My breath catches. "You believe me?" "I called Rick after you left, then Christine. They confirmed everything." He sighs heavily. "Your mother and we enabled this for too long." The validation washes over me like a wave. I just wanted to be respected in my own home, Dad. The next morning, I meet with Lydia again to understand my legal rights. By afternoon, the security system upgrade is installed, cameras monitoring all entrances. Mr. Jacobson agrees to watch for suspicious activity. I inform local police about potential false claims and secure my documentation in cloud storage and a safe deposit box. With each preparatory step, my confidence grows. This is my home, my sanctuary, and I will protect it. My phone chimes with a text from an unknown number. "You don't know me, but I'm Christine, Bradley's cousin. I have something you need to see." A video attachment follows. I press play, and Monica's voice fills my ears. "We'll be set for at least 6 months. She makes good money and is too nice to kick us out." Monica laughs, talking to someone off camera. "Once we establish residency, she'll have to formally evict us. That'll buy another 60 days minimum." My heart pounds as another text arrives. "There are 5 more of us. We're all ready to come forward." The conference room at Helen's office feels like a war room, with 6 people gathered around a table, covered with file folders, laptops, and coffee cups. I stand at the head, surveying the unlikely alliance I've assembled. "Thank you all for coming," I say, my voice steadier than it's been in weeks. "I know this isn't easy." Christine sits to my right, her fingers nervously tapping a thick manila folder labeled Harper Fraud 2022. Her eyes meet mine with quiet determination. "2 years ago, I thought I was helping family through a rough patch," she says, opening her folder to reveal meticulously organized documentation. 3 months turned into 7. By the time they left, they'd opened 3 credit cards using my address. Cousin Rick pushes forward a credit report with highlighted sections. They used my address for a furniture rental agreement. When they disappeared without paying, the collection agency came after me. Marjorie, my mother's friend from church, adds, 9 months they stayed with me. When I finally insisted they leave, Monica told everyone at church I was throwing children onto the street. I study our timeline on Helen's whiteboard. 4 years, 6 victims, a systematically executed pattern. "We're going to make sure they can't do this to anyone else," I say, distributing copies of the cease and desist letter my attorney prepared. My phone buzzes at 11:42 a.m. Security camera notification. I tap the app to see Bradley's car in my driveway, though he's supposed to be job hunting. The front door opens, and Bradley emerges with my grandmother's silverware chest. I tap the intercom feature. "Bradley, please return that to the dining room." On screen, he freezes, then glances frantically around for the camera. The silverware chest goes back inside. 20 minutes later, he leaves empty-handed. 3 hours later, a group text arrives from my mother. "Emergency family meeting tonight. Bradley and Monica need our support. Dad and I are hosting dinner at 6. By 4 p.m., my parents call. Nobody's coming, Mom said confused. Even Aunt Dorothy declined. I hear my father in the background. Did you tell them Bradley and Monica would be there? My niece doesn't speak of the abuse she suffers living with my controlling sister. Monica's Facebook post appears at 2 a.m., complete with a photo of 8-year-old Zoe looking tearful. By 8 a.m., the comments section explodes. Interesting how you've forgotten your temporary stay with us 2 years ago, Christine writes, including the credit cards you opened in our names. The Wilsons have doorbell camera footage of your husband removing items from Madeline's home while she's at work, posts my neighbor. Bradley's former employer chimes in. Now I understand why company property went missing during his employment. By noon, Monica has deleted the post, but screenshots have already circulated. The local parents group has removed her after 3 previous victims shared their experiences. My kitchen fills with the aroma of lasagna I didn't cook. Helen organizes a rotation runs delivering meals during this final week before the moving deadline. Mr. Jacobson waves from his driveway as he adjusts his security camera. Just upgrading my system, he calls over cheerfully. Happens to cover your front yard now, fancy that. At work, my team silently absorbs pieces of my project load. The message is clear across every front. Madeline is not standing alone. From my bedroom window, I watch Bradley and Monica's frantic midnight packing. Their voices carry through the open garage door. I've called 17 places today, Bradley snaps at Monica. Nobody will take us with our rental history. I told you we shouldn't have skipped out on the Westview place. Mom said we could stay with them for 2 weeks, max, he adds, struggling with an overfilled suitcase. I thought this was supposed to be a vacation. 11-year-old Lucas says, confusion plain on his face. Why did you tell Grandma we would be staying for months? Monica snaps, just pack your things. The next morning, I notice the fresh hole in my hallway baseboard. Miles stands nearby, looking nervous. Mommy said to tell you I did it, he whispers. I take photographs of every damaged area, documenting what I know is their final attempt at revenge. My phone rings at dawn. It's Bradley. We need another week, he says, his voice lacking its usual confidence. The deadline stands, I reply. Look, we've made some bad decisions, he admits. The first honest words I've heard from him in years. His voice cracks. We've got nowhere to go. Monica takes the phone. Her tears sound genuine for once. We never meant for things to go this far, she says. Yet you did this to 6 different families, I respond quietly. Hours later, after they finally gone, I find a small envelope on my desk. Inside is a child's thank you note and Lucas's careful handwriting. You were nice even when my parents weren't. Beneath it lies a USB drive labeled, What They Say When You're Not Home. My hands tremble as I plug it into my computer. The screen fills with shaky footage shot by Lucas on Monica's phone. My brother and his wife sit at my kitchen table, heads bent together. It's foolproof, Bradley says, grinning. Once we're here 60 days, she can't just kick us out. Monica laughs, the sound chilling in its calculation. By the time we're done, she'll be bankrupt, but we'll be set up nicely. I stare at their frozen faces on my screen, wondering, would using evidence recorded by a child against his own parents make me as manipulative as they are? Or would protecting Lucas from the consequences of exposing his family's wrongdoing make me complicit in their patterns? Either way, the final confrontation is inevitable now. The digital clock on my microwave glows 8:17 a.m. when Miles's wailing pierces the morning quiet. Not the familiar sounds of a child's tantrum, this is theatrical distress with perfect timing. I slide into the hallway as Monica emerges from the children's room, her face a mask of maternal concern that doesn't quite reach her eyes. It's Miles, she announces, thermometer clutched in her hand like a prop. He's burning up. We can't possibly move him today. Bradley appears behind her, moving boxes temporarily abandoned. 104.2 degrees, he says solemnly. We should probably stay until he's better. The calculated performance unfolds with rehearsed precision. Monica, pressing a damp cloth dramatically to Miles's forehead. prescription bottles arranged prominently on the nightstand, the child's face flushed from what I suspect is vigorous rubbing rather than fever. That's concerning, I say, my voice steady as lake water on a windless day. I've called Dr. Richards to come check on him right away. She should be here in 20 minutes. The blood drains from Monica's face so quickly, I almost hear it rush. She exchanges a panicked glance with Bradley. A doctor? She stammers. That's not necessary. I'm sure it's just a 24-hour bug. Within 15 minutes, Miles experiences a miraculous recovery. By the time the moving truck arrives, he's carrying his own backpack to the car. All traces of illness evaporated like morning dew under summer sun. Bradley blocks the doorway as I supervise their final departure, his body language shifting from defeated to threatening. You should know, he says, voice lowered to what he imagines as intimidation. We could sue you for emotional distress and unsafe living conditions. Monica stands beside him, phone raised to capture my reaction. The children were exposed to cleaning chemicals. The air quality was poor. We have documentation. Plus, Bradley adds, we'll need $2,000 for moving expenses if you want us to leave peacefully today. The thinly veiled extortion hangs between us like cigarette smoke, toxic and transparent. I say nothing, my gaze steady on Bradley's face until he shifts his weight, confidence faltering against my refusal to engage. Before you continue, I finally say, there's something you should see. I open my laptop on the entry table, screen illuminating with Lucas's compiled recordings. The second monitor displays a video conference, where 5 faces wait in patient silence: Christine, Rick, Marjorie, and the others. What is this? Bradley whispers, the blood draining from his face. This isn't just about me anymore, I say as Monica's phone drops to her side. I gesture to the dining room table where labeled folders stand in perfect alignment. You have 3 options. 1. Leave peacefully today with a signed agreement never to return. 2. Face legal action from all victims collectively. I gesture to the screens. Or 3. Have these recordings shared with your employers, family, and housing authorities. On the video call, my attorney nods silently. Through the window, Officer Martinez, coincidentally, chats with Mr. Jacobson across the street, his patrol car visible from our doorway. Financial damages calculated from each household. I say, opening the first folder. The timeline showing your pattern across 4 years. Credit checks revealing accounts opened in our names. I slide each meticulously documented folder forward. Property damage totaling $7,432 across 6 households. I place printouts of Monica's social media posts before her, and your own words about each of us. Bradley collapses onto a moving box, head in hands. We never meant for it to go this far. Yet, you did this to 6 different families, I reply. The agreement on top includes a repayment schedule of $200 monthly until the $7,432 is paid in full. Bradley signs without reading, his signature a defeated scrawl. Monica sits at my computer, deleting social media posts one by one, as Christine counts aloud from the screen. The January post about Madeline's generosity, the February claim about our new place, the GoFundMe, using Rick's address. When she finishes, Monica places my garage door opener and house keys on the table with a hollow thunk. The children watch from the doorway, witnessing adult consequences unfold. Lucas catches my gaze and offers a slight nod that carries more wisdom than a child his age should possess. Bradley and Monica move to separate vehicles, their unified front finally fractured. This is your fault, Monica hisses. You said no one would compare notes. You always took it too far, he retorts, slamming the car door. Mrs. Fleming waters her roses without looking up. The Martinez family pauses their car washing. Mr. Jacobson stands expressionless by his mailbox. The street witnesses their departure in silent judgment, as both vehicles pull away in opposite directions. In the sudden silence of my reclaimed home, I stand motionless until my phone vibrates against the table. Dad's name illuminates the screen. Maddie? His voice carries a familiar strain. They've shown up at our house now. What do we do? My hand remains steady as I sit at my desk. I'll email you the attorney's contact information. It's time they face consequences. As I send the information, a text notification appears from a number I don't recognize. Thank you for being brave. Lucas, Grandma's phone. The afternoon sun slants through windows that are mine alone again, illuminating dust motes that dance like tiny witnesses to the restoration of my sanctuary. Morning sunlight streams through my office windows, painting golden rectangles across the hardwood floor. 6 months since the confrontation, and I still sometimes pause to savor the silence. My sanctuary, restored. The pothos plant that nearly died during Bradley and Monica's invasion now cascades from its macrame hanger, leaves glossy and vibrant. On my monitor, the healthcare app design that earned me this quarter's Innovation Award displays in vivid color. My work had suffered during those weeks of chaos, but like this space, I've reclaimed my creative rhythm. Steam rises from grandmother's bone china teacup, no longer hidden away in locked cabinets. I run my finger along its delicate rim, remembering how I'd once feared it would become another casualty of their carelessness. My journal lies open beside my keyboard. Today's entry reads, "Boundaries aren't walls, they're foundations. Words I've come to live by." The doorbell chimes, the sound no longer filling me with dread. I move through my home with unhurried confidence, bare feet silent against the hardwood just as they were that night 6 months ago. But everything else has changed. My parents stand on the porch, Mom clutching her apple pure family's traditional peace offering since I was a child. Dad shifts from one foot to the other, his discomfort visible despite months of family therapy. "Come in," I say, the welcome both warm and clear, boundaried. Such a contrast to the invasion 6 months before. Now they enter by invitation, not expectation. We settle in the living room, where once Lucas had sprawled defiantly across my sofa, snacks grinding into cushions while Monica looked on indifferently. Bradley's financial counseling seems to be helping, Mom says, her hands fidgeting with her napkin. The divorce papers are finalized. Dad nods. The children are doing better with us 3 days a week. Structure makes a difference. "We should have supported your boundaries years ago, Maddie," Mom adds, tears gathering. "I was so afraid of saying no to them that I forced you to do it instead." I reach for her hand, feeling the genuine remorse in her trembling fingers. The family therapy sessions have been grueling, but necessary. Excavating decades of dysfunctional patterns doesn't happen painlessly. Friday evening brings a different gathering to my home. Helen raises her wine glass in the kitchen where I once caught Bradley rifling through my financial documents. "To Madeline," she announces, "who taught us all about courage." Christine, whose spare bedroom had been Bradley and Monica's target before mine, clinks glasses with Mr. Jacobson, who presents his signature lemon bars for the neighbor who restored peace to our street. Laughter fills my home now, comfortable and genuine. I look around at this chosen family of integrity, grateful for how crisis revealed who truly deserved my trust. Saturday afternoon, Lucas visits under my parents' supervision. At 12, his face already shows more maturity than his father's. "Does it get easier?" he asks as we sit on the back steps, telling the truth when people don't want to hear it. I consider his question carefully, remembering my own journey. "The first time is hardest, but your voice gets stronger with practice." I present him with a leather-bound journal, watching his fingers trace the inscription. "Your voice matters." Sunday finds me kneeling in spring soil, planting roses along the fence line. Boundaries with beauty, symbolic and practical. My phone rings. Dad's voice sounds cautious. "About next Sunday's dinner." Bradley asked if he could come. I straighten, wiping earth from my hands. "Yes, they can come, but just for dinner. The rules still apply." "Understood," he says without argument. Such a simple exchange, yet so profound in its respect. As evening settles, I sit on my porch swing, watching twilight soften the neighborhood edges. In my hands, a letter from Lucas at summer camp. I'm learning to speak up when things aren't right. He's written in careful script. A smile lifts the corners of my mouth as wind chimes sing in the gentle breeze. Some call it stubbornness. I call it self-respect. The difference saved my home and maybe our family.